If there's something that you guys have questions on later, you will be able to see because I'm recording it in our Teams folder. So next week, if you decide that you wanna or you forgot anything I said today, you can always go back and watch that. We are gonna go over that white folder. So everything that we're gonna talk about is currently gonna be in that white folder that I gave you. Jenna, you will have one next week as well with your information in it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know that she mentioned something about an interview. I'll have to do an interview with them with our site.
It depends. Some sites will have you interview. Other sites will just say, yes, we're going to take that person. Not everybody has to do an interview. I don't think Mercy does them. So. All right, as you open that white folder, you'll notice that on the left-hand side, there are documents specifically for Rasmussen. Loose papers in the middle are things that you need to fill out for your clinical site specifically, and they need to come back to me, okay? Some of you have just a couple of forms. Some of you have quite a bit of forms. I apologize, Crusader is the one that has a little bit more than everybody else. They also have a safety quiz. So did I put all the Crusader stuff in there? Yeah, okay, I can see it. So there is a safety manual packet in there. That is what you'll use to answer the quiz questions, okay? So OSF doesn't really need much from you. They give you that online portal stuff. Mercy has a couple of things that they do have you fill out specifically for their sites. Like you have to tell them your kind of personal back history. That's so they can do a little background check and make sure that you are safe to come into their clinical sites, right? Crusader also needs a drug test. They happen to be one of the only ones that still want one. Okay, and that's fine. But you guys will have, I'm going to give you until next week to have all of those forms completed and bring back to me. Now, you have a very easy one. You could do 2 signatures and hand it back to me today and be done with it. You guys do not have that, okay? Mercy Health does have quite a bit of forms, Crusader has quite a bit of forms as well. So as we go through this, we're going to start on the Rasmussen side, so the left-hand side of your folder. We're going to go over all of those documents. You can make notes on these documents as we go through them, okay? Any of the ones that are in there most of them are electronic now. So I actually have you fill it out electronically and submit it for grading. So anything that you want to make notes on that folder or on these sheets, you absolutely can. Because you're going to keep this throughout your externship. What's the matter, Sarah? Okay. Same. Oh, good for you. That sounds terrible.
Oh yeah, you said it last week.
Okay.
I still feel it.
You're going to feel it for a while. I'm very sorry. All right, so let's get into this. The first thing that we're going to go over is that externship and capstone handbook. Am I going to go over this word for word with you guys today? Absolutely not. First of all, you are grown adults. You can all read, okay? I am not going to waste my time going over this individually and word for word. However, I am going to highlight some really important things for you guys that I think students either miss or they forget, okay? One of the first things that we talk about with externship is, first and foremost, you may need to travel outside of your immediate area. While I am going to try my darndest to get you close to where you want to go and close to your hometowns, close to your homes, because you're going to have littles that you have to take care of and things like that, there are times that I can't control that, right? Mercy Health people, you had asked to be in certain locations. Thankfully, they took you all in those locations. Same thing with Crusader, OSF, that was not your first home base. However, we got you something close to school, so it's not too far from you, okay? That's the nice thing, is that we can keep you somewhat close, but always know that I can't guarantee that, okay? All externship activities, things like travel, food, and other expenses that you're gonna incur, like a drug test, or if you had to do physical or anything like that, that is at the cost of the student. Rasmussen only pays for that TB test and your Hep B test, okay? That's it. Everything else is unfortunately on the student, Okay. We did talk about that during your programmatic orientation, but that was a lifetime ago, right? It was at least 3 quarters ago. And I don't know about you, but some students have completely forgot everything we talked about that day. While you don't necessarily have control over the site, I did ask you guys where you all wanted to go. And I got as close to what you guys had given me or what you actually gave me as I could. But please know I do my best, but I cannot guarantee everything. Okay. The nice thing is that all of you are placed at this point, so I don't really have that concern. I just realized I might have missed half of this conversation because I was muted. Sorry, Jenna. So Jenna's probably just been watching me for the first like 10 minutes going, no idea what she's saying. At the end of your externship, the goal is to have you guys sit for your CMA exam. Okay. Now, let me preface this very quickly by saying that if you do not successfully pass capstone or externship, you cannot sit for that exam. So I'm going to be watching your capstone and your externship courses very, very closely. Because if you are not set to go by week 7, if I don't see that you are passing, I will not send in your name to sit for that exam. Okay. And what I mean by send in your name is we have a team member on my team that I send all of their names to, all student names to, and she sends you a voucher code for you to apply for that CMA exam. Okay. She sends it to your personal email. It's very nice. It's very swift, but you have to do the work. But we give you the voucher code. That means that we're paying for it that first attempt. Any subsequent attempts that you take, so let's say for whatever reason you don't pass that first attempt, you want to take it a second time, that falls on you as the student. We only pay for the first attempt. Do I want to see you be successful in the first attempt? Absolutely. If you have been studying up to this point and you've been using all of the resources that Rasmussen has given you, we should be good. Because you should have gotten, don't quote me, did you get 2 CMA prep books?
Yes.
Okay. So one of them is the CMA, the CCMA, the RMA, and the one other test. CRT, maybe? All of those are great. That book is great. The other one is what I really, really like. And the students who have used that second book passed the first attempt flying colors. Okay. So, but not only is it using the resources, it's setting time, dedicating time to that test. I tell students you should do about 30 minutes a day. Okay. Now, some of you are like, oh, I don't have time to do 30 minutes a day. Sure you do. Take the 30 minutes that you were watching TikTok and flip over and use an app, right? There's CMA apps all over that you could use, and they do flashcards and they do, matching and they do quiz questions. Take that 30 minutes and do that. Do it on your lunch breaks at work, right? So instead of scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or whatever kids do nowadays, flip over and spend 30 minutes studying, okay? I used to, because I don't think they do it anymore, I used to listen to pre-recorded lectures on sections on my drives home. They don't do that anymore. Apparently nobody wanted to listen to the robot anymore, okay? But the goal is you finish your externship, you finish your capstone course, you can sit for the exam, okay? You cannot take the exam until you have successfully graduated from the program. Graduation does not mean the day that you walk across the stage, it means the day that you finish your courses, okay? So for you guys, it'll be June, like around June 15th, okay? So, moving forward.
Question.
Yes,
How long after graduation date
you have, I think it's like 120 days. That's not right. No, you have up to a year. So you finish January 15th, 2024. You have until June 15th, 2025, if you want us to pay for it. Yep, good question. They will, when you sign up for the CMA exam and you use that voucher code though, you will be given a 90-day window. So you have to make sure that you are ready to sign up, essentially. If you're not ready to sign up, don't put the voucher code in yet.
Can we work before we take the exam?
What do you, as an MA?
Yes.
Some places, yes.
Some people take it.
Most places nowadays are not doing that. I think the only one that I know that is still taking people who are uncertified at the beginning is Crusader, and those are typically students that you did your externship there, you finished your externship, they hire you, and they tell you you have 100 days to take your exam. That's what it is. Mercy and Swedes, I don't see them taking people anymore unless they're credentialed. I think OSF's getting on that bandwagon as well. Let me rephrase that. I know OSF is because they became a rural health, so they have to have, we have to have credentialing in order to work for them. So, all right. Kiwani had asked me this at the beginning about interviews. Does everybody do an interview? No. And really, the interview isn't like your true like interview like you would be getting hired for a job. What it more or less is it's a way for them to see if you would be a good fit within their clinical site, right? They might ask you those interview questions. Tell me about yourself. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Why did you choose Crusader? Why did you choose Nursey? Why did you choose all this stuff? They might ask you those things, right? But it's not going to be more detailed, like hardwired interview questions. Now, this is the part that confuses people and students. You get 2 attempts at an interview per quarter. So let's say that you have an interview and you go into the interview and they decide for whatever reason, nope, it's not going to work for us. And they pull their externship. Okay. I will try to find you a second location. If you interview with them and they say, nope, not going to work, that counts as your first failed attempt at externship. And you only get 2 attempts at extern. You will not be able to sit or attend externship until the subsequent quarter. So you guys are going into externship in spring. If you failed 2 interviews, you would not be able to go in until summer, which would be July. Okay. So then, you know, myself and Bobby will work with you, or Shireen, whoever you guys have, whatever advisor you have, will work with you on online classes that you can take. But then we'll also set up a lesson plan for you meeting with me. That means you coming to campus. That means you working through your skills. We figure out why you weren't accepted to those 2 places, and we work on those skills. It might be professionalism, right? You came in with a poor attitude. You came in with a poor dress. You know, you didn't follow those path standards that I hold you to. It could be that you came in late, or I've seen it. Sounds so sad. Students went under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I have seen it where the student said, well, when I finish here, I'm going to get hired, right? Nope, that's not a guarantee because you do externship here, you're going to get a job here. That's not how that works. Or, well, tell me what my pay would be at the end of this externship. Nope, that's going to be a hard no for me and a hard no for them, right? So you're still required to follow those path standards even though I'm not watching you. So that means that you're wearing your Rasmussen scrubs. You're wearing your Rasmussen ID unless they have an ID badge that they give you. Crusader does. Mercy Health does not, I don't believe. So you will have to wear yours. I don't think OSF does either, so you'll want to wear your ID badge. Your shoes need to be non-skid bottom. So that means that they're tennis shoes, not Crocs, not sandals, not boots, not anything like that. We want to wear non-skid bottom shoes, especially because you want to wear something you're going to be comfortable in for 8 hours a day. Okay. If you have tattoos, we're covering them. If you have piercings, we're removing them. If you have longer hair, we're pulling it back. All the things that I hold you accountable for, same thing applies at your externship site. Just because I'm not there doesn't mean they don't apply. Okay. So let's say you go through your interview, everything goes great, they hire you, beautiful, boom. But something happens during your externship and you get fired, right? I've seen a variety of different reasons. My favorite was a student talked about, she must have had a bad day or something, and she asked one of the other staff members if they had a gun that she could use to shoot herself. Now, did she actually mean it? No. But did she scare them enough to be like, this ain't it for me? Yep. I have seen where a student said, hey, I got to go grab something. I got to go grab my stethoscope out of the car. She got in the elevator and never came back. Okay. I have seen where I had a student actually come smelling of weed to a site. That's a no. It's a big no. Okay. Same thing would happen here, right? I'd kick you out of class if you came smelling like that here in my classroom. It's a liability, it's a safety issue. So these are all of the things that sorry, Jenna, I just realized I have not been moving this as I've been talking. That would be a failed attempt. And again, we would set up a lesson plan for you to meet with me. We would go over everything that happened, why you were fired, and then we would set a plan of action to help you get ready for the next cycle and interviewing as well. Now, what would happen if you did your first set of interviews and you fail, right? Because nobody takes you, they say no both times. You do a second set of interviews in the subsequent quarter, and both of those places say no to you. That means that you would fail the program. You would be considered a completer, but you would not be able to do your externship because you only get that 2 attempts at externship. Does that make sense? You guys have any? What do you mean?
So we fail both, that means we fail the whole class?
Yep.
And we can't graduate?
Yep.
And there's no reason?
No. You get 2 attempts. So you do your first set of interviews for spring, right? You do 2 interviews, both of them say no, that's a fail. You do your second set of interviews for our July start. 2 interviews, they both say no, that's the second fail. You only get 2 attempts.
So what if they say no, just like % of them saying no? What if we went and
It doesn't matter. A no is a no is a no. Yep. So same thing would happen. Let's say that you get fired from your first attempt at externship. So you get fired for spring, we set you up for summer. You get fired in summer, you're done. It's the same concept because you only get 2 attempts. Same thing for capstone. So let's say that so capstone is essentially the lecture portion of externship. Okay, just like what you guys have now, lab and lecture. Externship is lab, capstone is lecture. You fail lecture the first time, so capstone the first time, that's your first attempt. You only get 2 attempts at capstone. If you don't pass capstone in 2 attempts, you also fail out of the program. How that works. Okay. At the end, we hold things a little bit harsher than we did the rest of the program. We can't offer 75 attempts at taking 1 class like externship because you're going to burn through all of our sites, and that's why. You guys, because we live in Illinois, need to complete 180 hours at the clinical site. And then there's 20 hours of online work. So it's a total of 200 hours in 11 weeks. Very doable, even if you have a job. Very, very doable. But you're going to have to be dedicated to making sure it happens. Okay. I will not be holding your hand. I will not be setting anything up for you. I will not be making schedules for you. That's not my job. That's your job to work with the clinical site to do that. Okay. If you don't want to take the initiative to do it, and you don't want to take the initiative to make sure you have your hours, that would be your fail. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay.
Question.
Yes.
So are the sites like pretty open with their scheduling?
Yes. Yes. So a lot of my sites, specifically Crusader's really great, and I'll tell you why. Because they like to schedule you for the first 7 weeks, half days only. Right? So that's at 8 to noon or it's a 1 to 5. So the first 7 weeks, you get those hours in, 20 hours a week. 7 weeks, it's 140 hours. Then the last 2 weeks, they ask you if you can work full time. If you can't, that's fine. I've also had I've had students say, hey, listen, I can only work, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and they'll work with you that. Maybe that's you doing full days those days. They'll definitely work with you on that. They're very good about scheduling at Crusader.
I was planning like Monday, Tuesday, externship, and then my actual job, let's say for Saturday.
Yep. So that shouldn't be a problem. You'll just do full days those days. Okay. All right. Question? Okay. So when you get ready to start your externship, the hope is that starting maybe early March, beginning of or mid-March, you and your clinical site will connect. Okay. I have no control over that. I can't make them talk to you. You have to connect with them. Okay. But if your site requires you to do an orientation, for example, only 20 hours of your orientation can count towards your skills and towards your hours. So let's say that the first week is all orientation, 40 hours of orientation. You can only record 20 hours worth of that orientation to count for externship. Most places only do maybe a day. So 8 hours, not a big deal. I've never really seen a site here in the Rockford area do more than 8 hours. Okay. Once you're placed, again, you will meet with that clinical site supervisor. You will connect with them. You will talk with them. You can ask to set up a tour of the department or the facility. Some places will do that day one. Other places you can ask to do that beforehand. You will verify your first day of externship, and I believe, let me just, before I make a fool out of myself, the first day that you can actually attend your externship is going to be Monday, April 1st. You cannot start your externship over break. You have to start when courses start, which is April 1st. Okay. So you will have from April 1st until, just give you the actual, the 14th, June 14th. That's how long you'll have, April 1st to June 14th.
Do we have to start on April 1st?
No, but that's the beginning of when you can start.
Okay.
You cannot start before April 1st. You can start anytime after April 1st, just not before it. You will want to make sure that you set a schedule with the clinical site supervisor, manager, preceptor, whoever it is. But again, that is not done through me. Don't ask me what your schedule is. I don't know. I don't work for them. I work with you, but all I'm going to do is give you their information and tell you to connect with them. Okay?
If they don't connect with us, do we connect with them?
What did I just say?
I know, but like, who do we call?
So I forwarded you all of their emails when I said you got accepted.
Right.
So I don't think, what do you think you should do? Don't look at it now.
Okay.
But if you don't hear from them by the middle of March, you would want to reach out to them in the emails that I sent you.
But would that be considered a no for them?
No, they've already accepted you.
Okay.
Mercy Health does not do interviews, so they've already accepted 4 of you. Right? So you don't have to worry about it. The only person who's got an interview scheduled is Amanda. Everybody else has already been accepted. One thing I will say is as you're scheduling, you're setting up your schedule, you're preparing for your schedule, you really should try to work somewhere between 20 to 24 hours a week. That's really going to be your sweet spot to get everything done in 11 weeks and allow for potential if you have to do a makeup. Okay. Does that always work? No. Sometimes you can only work 16 hours a week, right? What I'll say to you is in 10 weeks, that'll put you at 160 hours. So week 11, you'll have to work 20. So at some point, adding in a half day somewhere would be, I don't know that Crusader does it, but you could ask about maybe doing a Saturday. I know some of my other sites like OSF, not OSF, Mercy, sorry. Mercy, Prompt Cares and walk-in clinics will allow paid students to work on weekends as well. If they have that opening. So the students I have currently in externship are at their walk-in clinics. If you're not at a walk-in clinic and they don't have a Saturday, you can't work a Saturday. You should not work more than 40 hours a week. Can't work more than full-time. Unless there's an absolute reason that you need to. For example, maybe you have missed an externship and you need to make up hours, then you could do more than 40, but it would have to be approved not only by me, but by your clinical site supervisor. Yes.
How many can we miss?
We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go into it yet, but we will talk about it. You, again, must work with your site supervisor. I'm not going to be the person that does that. That's going to be on you. You have to take the responsibility for your externship. You should be working through basic medical assisting clinical tasks, everything that we've worked in here, but you also want to make sure you are seeing administrative tasks. So see if there's a day you can sit at the front desk and see how insurances work, how arriving a patient, taking a co-payment, handling phone calls, see how all of that works. So try to make sure that you also ask to schedule for an administrative day or at least 1 or 2 administrative days, okay? Let's talk about what are your responsibilities. What do you think are some responsibilities that you're going to have as an externship student? Be on time. That sounds like a great one. What else? Be professional. Treat this like your job, because it is, sort of. What else? Be clean.
Friendly.
Be friendly.
Teammates.
Be a good team player. Yeah, all of these make sense, right? Dress in your Rasmussen scrubs, making sure that you're following our PATH policy, making sure that you have all of your immunizations completed. Going to stop really quick. Talk about immunizations. I'm going to say what I see that everybody needs. You don't have to argue it with me. You don't have to be, I don't want to hear it. Telling you what I see as of today, as of this morning, what I saw. I saw that, Amanda, you still need your 2-step. Sarah, you need your 3rd Hep B, and you're going to be the one that causes me anxiety.
Friday. That's where you're Friday.
It says you can't have until March 15th.
No, they said I can have on Friday.
Okay, girl, fine.
Because I tried to schedule in January, she's like, no. You're in January, you're in February.
Okay, never mind. Ignore. Jamie, TB. Kiowani, TB. Jenna, 3rd Hep B and your TB. And then Carla, you need an updated flu documentation. What you submitted does not work. Okay. If those are not done, I'm telling you right now, if they are not done by the end of this quarter, which is March 15th, I will not allow you to go forward. I will not allow you to do externship. I will not allow you to go, period, plain and simple. Because everything has to be completed in Castle Branch before I let you go. So I heard you say something about you had a TB yesterday.
Yeah, it's 85 tomorrow. That's my 2nd round.
Beautiful.
I go tomorrow.
You go today
I go tomorrow.
for your first one or your second one?
First.
Okay. First one or second one?
My second.
Okay.
But my doctor's office is there.
I don't care who does it. I don't care. You're going to pay for that one because Rasmussen won't pay for it, but I don't care who pays for it or who does it. I care that it's done. And you need to have them placed 1 to 3 weeks apart. If you do anything more than 3 weeks, it will be a void and you have to start all over. And considering we're in week 7, we only have 4 weeks left of class, not an option. You have to get it done tomorrow.
Right.
You have to have the next one placed either next Wednesday or following Wednesday. Yep.
So like when I go to get my 2nd one read tomorrow, can I ask for like documentation?
They
showing-
should give you the documentation. You going to Mercy?
No, I go to my doctor.
Okay, they should give you documentation. The biggest thing that we want to make sure is that they show as negative or 0 or however they record it. We have to make sure that they have the results there. Okay. All right. Now, let's get into, we're going to talk about how you document your hours. I'm going to show you that. While I show you today, I know what's going to happen. We have at least 6 weeks until your externship. You will straight forget everything I have said about how to do this. So I'm telling you now, day 1 of externship, one of the first videos that I posted in a course announcement is how to do your timesheets. If you are not looking at course announcements, you've never looked at one thing I've ever put, that sounds like a you problem. So when you turn in a timesheet in week 1 and it's wrong and I tell you it's wrong and I give you a 0, don't come at me. I've told you how to do it. It'll be the twice that I've told you how to do it. I'm not showing you a 3rd time. Okay. If you forget today, which is fine, it's normal, you have to watch course announcements. I've had some students tell me they've never once looked at, read, or acknowledged a course announcement. They just close it off. That sounds like a you problem when you don't know the rules then.
But they removed though after a time.
You can still see them. There's still a tab on the top that says announcements.
Right.
Then we need to look at your screen because there's no reason they should be blank. We're not doing it right now.
You already posted this video?
No, I'll do it in your externship course.
Oh.
But one of the things I'll tell you right now that I will not tolerate, and I have fired students for it, is when your records are falsified. I will remove you from your externship site, whether they say, no, it's fine, we'll work with them. I don't care. I will physically remove you and tell you that you're fired. Okay. I do not tolerate falsifying. I do not tolerate that kind of documentation. I will not put up with it, and neither will the site. Okay. So if I see that you are falsifying your hours, I will make sure that you are removed from externship. If we get word that you have violated any sort of HIPAA, you will be fired from your externship, okay? Any of these things make no sense to you. Good. All right. Externship attendance policy. We follow a very similar policy to what you have here at campus. So how many days are you allowed to miss if you are on a campus course? 2. So how many do you think you're allowed to miss when you're at externship? 2. That's it. That is our policy, is that you're only allowed to miss 2 scheduled externship shifts. Now, do we understand that sometimes a student might miss for other reasons that are outside of their control? For example, maybe you've got court, maybe you've got a sick kid, you're sick yourself, you get in an accident. I had a poor student this quarter, her pipes burst while she was at work and her kids came home to her house flooded. So some of these things are out of our control. If you can provide us with documentation, we're willing to work with you. Some sites, if they see a habitual habit, they'll just say, you know what? I don't care what the reason is, you're done. And guess what? You're done. I'm not saving you, okay? Our policy is technically 2. So they could fire you after 2, or I could fire you after 2. Have to make sure you're at externship. The importance of that, I cannot stress enough, okay? And again, if you are dismissed from the site for any reason, the attendance policy, your performance, conduct of code of conduct, dress code, etc., doesn't matter. The externship site can override the university's policy. That's their choice, right? I can't control if the site says, you know what, this isn't working out, we're gonna let her go. Okay. I have to do all the bad stuff where I have to call you and tell you that you're no longer going. I don't like those phone calls. They're not fun for me. But then we'll start that process of, okay, how do we get you prepared for the next time? Okay. Students who do not complete all of their required hours during their externship, okay, will fail their course unless, again, there are some unforeseen circumstances and we grant an extension. I have only granted an extension once in the many moons that I've been doing this, because a student had to have an emergency appendectomy in the middle of class, in the middle of externship. Like her appendix ruptured at a clinical site. And then she had to have a drain put in. So yeah, I gave her an extension. I don't do it often. And I don't do it often because I cannot beat into your heads enough how important this is and how your scheduling needs to be set for that. Okay. Questions so far? Cool. I'm on page 29 of the document. I'm gonna skip where it says weekly skills, weekly digital timesheets, because I'm gonna show you that virtually. The next couple of pages talk about what evaluations we're gonna do. So I typically see you in your externship most of the time once, sometimes twice, okay? 30. So I'm on 30 now.
Of this,
Yes.
mine goes from 15 to 37.
What? I'm on the section that says evaluation and expectations of the medical assisting externship. What are you on? Uh-oh. What do I feel like? Uh-oh. Not that one.
Right, yeah, but that's page 8.
That's 8 for you? Okay.
Yeah.
30 for me. As well.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Wait.
It's
That's
8,
all
it's
right.
8, it's 8 for you, it's 30 for me. Shush.
Oh,
Sorry. I didn't know that your numbers were different than mine. So, just like any of your other courses, because externship, you don't meet with me, right? It's really, really imperative that you make sure that you are checking in to your online courses. Because while we have an on-campus or on externship attendance policy of how many days? 2, The online policy still applies at 14 days. So if you don't do anything for 14 days, you're going to get kicked out of the course, regardless of where you're at for hours, regardless where your grade is, it doesn't matter. If you go inactive for 14 days, you're gone. So go in at least once a week, sometimes twice, okay? Look at stuff, especially capstone. You're going to need to be in there a lot more than that. But the externship course, go in and look at course announcements. Go in and look at emails. Go in and look at what's going to be graded this week, okay? Most weeks, I think weeks 1 through 7 in your externship course, the grand total of points is something like 20. Up to that point. You get 5 points per week for turning in a timesheet, 25 points, say that. And then discussion boards that you're going to have on weeks 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11 are worth 20 points. So you can see how not doing one assignment correctly is going to hurt you real bad in the beginning. It's going to hit you even harder weeks 8 through 11, because then your assignments go from being 25 points max to one assignment is worth 100, one assignment is worth 240, another assignment is worth 100. So at the end, that's where all the heavy hitting is coming in. You don't do one assignment at the end. I don't care if you've passed your externship, you've finished, all your hours are done. If you don't pass the course, you're going to have to do it all over again, including your hours. But I also have to warn you, if you work too far ahead, you'll get kicked out because you haven't been attending, okay? So let's say for whatever reason, you're one of those people that you know you're going to do 40 hours a week, right? You have it set in your mind. You have it set with your work. You need 40 hours a week. That means you're going to be done in 5 weeks, okay? That means weeks 6 through 11, you still have to do all that work, right? That doesn't change, but you want to do it per week. You want to do all the assignments and have them done? Sure. Don't submit them until the week that they're due. Okay. There's no mind taps for externship, at least for my course. Capstone will have them, but I don't have any mind taps. So it's really just the hard work that we're doing. Okay. So make sure you're getting in at least 3 times a week, checking things, posting attendance at least once a week. And by posting attendance, that means you have to do some sort of thing that you have to turn in work, a discussion board, a written assignment, a quiz, an exam, something to that effect, okay? All that makes sense? Okay, let's talk about capstone. I don't talk about capstone very much because number one, I don't teach it, so I don't know the course very well. Here's what I do know. Like I talked about, it is the lecture version of what you're going to be doing. It's going to have projects each week that you're going to be talking about transferable skills, so diversity, inclusion, computer working, networking, things like that. It's also going to have CMA exam preps in there. Your midterm exam is a full CMA test. Your final exam is a full CMA test. You have to pass your final exam in 2 attempts with a 73% or higher. If you don't, just like this course, you would be a fail. Regardless of what your grade is, you don't pass your final exam, you don't pass the class. That's how it works. Okay. There's some discussion boards sprinkled in there as well. There's not as many, just like there's not very many in externship course. Okay. I do not teach that class, so please don't ask me about it. Don't ask me if I'm going to teach that class for you. The answer is no. I don't know who it will be, but it will not be me. But again, it's set up very much like your lecture. You're going to be working on things like discussion boards, written assignments, exam preparations, and then passing that CMA exam. Okay. Questions on that? Questions on anything we've gone over up to this point?
What's the name of the book? What was the second book called that you want us to use that you think you like best?
I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but you were given it.
Right.
I think it's blue. That's all I really know off the top of
Was
my
it
head.
the one that's not by Jenner?
No, I think that's the other one. I think that's the normal one that we give students. It's the other one. I can look it up here in a minute, but I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
All right. The last couple of pages here are talking about the responsibilities not only of yourself, of the clinical site evaluator, which is whoever you're working with, and then myself as the program coordinator. I think that at this point you've kind of gathered what my role is. Okay. Now, you have a list. I don't know if you actually have a list or if I just printed them individually. The next couple of things that we're going to be talking about are the appendices that are going to be responsible, you're going to be responsible for during externship. That is going to be Appendix A, which is digital timesheets. Appendix B, which is the externship evaluation of the student, so them evaluating you. And then the last one is Appendix C, which is you evaluating the site. Okay, so I'm going to talk about B and C first. I will then pull up my screen and show you A. So
I don't have B.
does anybody have a B? Are you sure?
Yeah, it just say A and C.
I swear to God, everybody had all of the papers. All right, well, it doesn't matter. You're not filling this out. It's them filling it out.
Oh, okay.
And it's digital, so I send it to them via email. So for Appendix B, this is the site's way to evaluate you, and I don't send this to them until you are almost done with your hours. So most of the time I send it after we have a mid-quarter evaluation. So what's going to happen is when you get about halfway through, so about 90 hours, 80 to 90 hours, I'm going to schedule a meeting with your site, whether that is an in-person meeting or a digital, like a virtual meeting. Most of the time we're still doing them virtual. It just works out easier. Especially when I have to finish classes, instead of trying to run to Janesville to see you guys or Belvedere, you would be like, all right, I'm on my way. But like everyone else is like not close. I'll do a digital or a video visit. And it's about a 30-minute visit. I meet with the site first. I talk to them for about 15 minutes. I get their feedback on how things are going. And then I meet with you second as the student, and I give you their feedback, and then I ask for your feedback. So it's just my way of kind of like checking in like, hey, you're about halfway. How are things going, right? How are you feeling? Are there things that you're seeing that you're not comfortable with or maybe that you've never seen before? It's just my way to kind of check in with you guys, okay? So after that mid-quarter evaluation, I get an idea of when you're going to be done all together. And about 2 weeks before you're done, I send them this Appendix B. And it's their way to, again, just observe you. They're observing you. And this isn't even the right document that I'm showing you, Jenna. I think you guys have the correct document. Hold that up for me for a second. Oh, no, you don't have it either. That's the wrong form. So see, this is even better that they don't get this one. So it's a list of administrative skills and clinical skills, and they put whether they observed you doing it or you just watched somebody doing it. And then if you actually did it, if you performed it, they then score you as observed satisfactory, observed unsatisfactory. And it's just kind of their way to say, hey, listen, they did a good job at X, Y, and Z, but they need to work on A, B, C. Okay. And that's just feedback for me. Now, if I see something that I'm like, ooh, that is really bad, then I give you guys the feedback as well. Most of the time, I don't see anything too concerning. Maybe it's like, oh, we don't do coding at our clinic. That's an offsite thing. So they didn't get to see that. Okay. No big deal. The coding is one thing that I can like skirt by. But if they're like, listen, she did vital signs, but never knew how to properly take a blood pressure, big old problem, right? So those are the things that I look for. They fill this out electronically. They send it back to me electronically. Here's where it gets a little different. You don't typically see this until week 11. In week 11, one of the assignments that's worth 240 points is you turning in this document that I will email to you, just like I do your skills log. Excuse me, you're very rude today. If you don't turn this in, do you think you're gonna pass the class? Big old fat goose egg, right? You went from having an A to a C or an F very quickly if you don't turn in the one assignment that's worth 240 points, okay? But again, I will email you it. I will tell you about it. I will say it to you in your mid-quarter evaluation. I will say it to you when you are done with your hours, okay? That document will be emailed to me and then you will get a copy of it. Appendix C is your ability to then look at your site and evaluate them, right? I think there's 7 questions that we ask you. Again, it is a digital form. It'll be in your module 11 folder during your externship course. You fill it out electronically and you submit it back to me just like you did a path assignment, okay? It's gonna ask you to answer the questions yes or no. And then on the back side or the second side, it asks you to give more information. So one of the questions that we always ask is, would you use this site again for a future student, right? Think about it as a student yourself. Would you send somebody else in the future here, yes or no? If it's yes, tell me why. If it's no, tell me why, right? Because if you get in the site and you're like, listen, the site started out super great and then they started treating me like horribly bad, or they started, I just didn't feel like I fit in and they made me feel like an outcast. That's something I want to know, right? Because I don't ever want that for a student. Have I seen in the past where a student has said, no, I wouldn't use the site? Yes. And it was a brand new site that we were using and the staff themselves were not nice. They weren't nice to me. They weren't nice to the student. They weren't even nice to their own manager. And it became a very toxic situation for the patient or for the student that I even pulled the student from that site and put her in a new site. I don't do that often. That happened to just be one of those situations where I was like, this is not a healthy environment for my student, and she's gonna leave. And she did.
Did her hours have to start over?
Nope. Because I pulled her and put her somewhere new because of the situation, we transferred her hours. And then the one part that I really like is tell me what was your favorite part about externship, what was your least favorite part, right? Some students tell me, listen, I really liked everything, but I hated that I didn't get my own login information. I can't control that. Okay. Oh, I really liked it, but I didn't get to give injections. Okay. Again, some sites will let you do it. Some sites won't. I can't control their policies. But still getting to like follow and see all of that is really important because their flow is going to look different than what we get here. Okay. And then you get to give your final observations. So that's going to be due in module 11 of your externship quarter as well. Also worth 240 points.
So B and C.
Yep, are worth 240.
So I'm sure like every site is different
Yep.
on like what we're allowed to do.
Yep.
So are we kind of just like following the same person around, or do they switch you with persons?
I don't, so this is the hardest question for me. I don't necessarily want to say you're always going to have X person because you might not, right? You might have a different person. You might work in different departments. So Crusader's a really good one. Now, you being in Belvedere, it might be a little bit different, but they're a really good one for like, hey, we're going to show you what primary care looks like. We're going to show you what pediatrics looks like. We're going to show you what women's health looks like. We're going to show you what prompt care looks like. We're going to do a little bit here and a little bit there. Great. Mercy, you're at site A, you're going to be at site A, you're going to be at site A. Okay, I can't control that. Same thing with Guilford Square or OSF. Crusader's really the only one that I see that like gets to send people different locations within Crusader. I want to say yes, you'll be with the same person the whole time, but if they're out, they're sick, you get, I can't guarantee that. The hope is that you're with the same person every time, right? What other questions do you have while I'm setting up the screen here?
So remember how you told us that we have to make sure that we request to be sent to do administrative? Could we ask to go to different departments, or that's up to them?
You mean different departments because of having to go to like administrative?
No, I mean like with pediatrics or
You can ask that. I
oncology.
can't guarantee it
that we, okay.
because
But we need that, right, to go to different departments, or it's all the same
No.
concept?
so wherever you're scheduled, that's where you're going to stay.
Mhm.
Where it's going to be different is if you have the ability to go sit in like a front office. That's what I mean by going to a different department. You're not going to be going to like, oh, I'm at, primary care today, and then next week I'm going to be at pediatrics. That doesn't
Okay.
happen.
Okay.
All right. What else? Sorry, I'm pulling it
So
up.
for my interview,
Yes.
do they ask like, I know you can never already answer that, but will they ask me questions upon like skills and stuff like that?
No.
Or
I don't ever hear them really asking about skills necessarily.
More just if you're gonna fail it.
Yep, just looking at personality stuff, to be honest with you. Okay. I'm going to get this up, and I'm pulling up the digital timesheet for you guys so you can actually see what I mean. I'm going to give you notes on how to do digital timesheet. Again, I will do it today. I will do it again in week 1 of the course for externship, which will start on April 1st. And adjust this. All right. Perfect. Let me share my screen so Jenna can see what I'm doing as well. So this is what your digital timesheet will look like. There's some very important things that I need you to do to begin with. Number 1 is you're going to fill out this section. You're going to put your name, whatever your name is. You're going to put your site's name. You're going to put their address. Because if I ever have to come visit you, I need to know where I'm going. You're going to put your mentor's name. Okay. I don't necessarily need their phone number, but I need their email. I'm just filling in some random stuff here, guys. Don't take what I'm doing correctly. And then whatever day you start is the day and the time you're going to put. So let's say, for example, you start on April 1st, right? That's the day that you can start. You also need to change this last one. Number 1, my name is not Nicole Roberts. And we are not at the Wausau campus. So fix all that. You'll also, and this is if you want to, it bothers me to no end. You're going to flip this over so it says spring 2024 because that's when you're actually doing this. Can you guys all see that, or do I need to make it bigger? You're good? Okay.
Question.
Yes.
I just lost it. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I do have it. So remember you said we do it weekly, right?
Yep.
So every day the date would be 4/1, or it would be that week.
I'm gonna answer that right now.
Okay.
So one of the things that I encourage students to do is put your dates in to begin with. Make your life easy. And I'm going to show you a little trick to make your life easy. I hate Excel, so I have learned tips and tricks so I don't have to do the work 1,000 times over. So the first day that you can start is Monday the 1st. You all in agreement? Said it about 500 times. If you go down to the little corner and drag that down, oh my God, it fills in the dates for you. You know, I've got to do the work. And then go to week 2. Same thing. I literally fill this out until the end of the quarter. Because guess what? Ain't nobody got time for this. And if you do that, you can save this on your desktop and fill it in as the weeks go. And then all you have to do is print it off at the end of each week, have them sign it, and then you can submit it for grading.
Are you holding it as you are holding your?
Yep.
Okay.
Your hold and drag. So we're in week 6, hold and drag. So you're going to just see me do this for a minute. So if you have questions, throw them out while I'm doing this.
So you're filling in your hours.
Currently, I'm just filling in dates.
Right.
But yes, you'll fill in your hours. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But I find if I can fill this out, it gives me an idea of where I'm going to be and when I'll be done. It makes, honestly, it makes your life easy. It makes my life easy. Now, where I get different is in week 10. Because you don't have until Sunday, you only have until Friday. I stop at Friday. Okay, so again, it stops at June 14th because that's going to be the last day of the quarter. So
You worked, I don't know, 3 days that week.
okay. Let's start with that. Let's say you work 3 days a week, right? Let's say you work Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What do you want to work on Monday? 8 to 5, okay, right? So log in time is 8 a.m. So you put 8:00 space a.m. You have to put the space in there, otherwise it will tell us it's invalid. You have to put when you have your lunch. That is a necessity. So let's say that you get a 30-minute lunch and we go from 12, so 12:00 space p.m. to 12:30. Good Lord. Yeah. And then Amanda said we clock out at 5. Do you see how it's calculating your hours? That is a beautiful thing, right? What do you want to work on Wednesday? Jamie? Same. Okay. Here's the thing. Let me tell you a little secret. If you work the exact same shift, copy, so highlight, copy, paste it. You want to do the same thing on Friday? Okay. Oops. Whoa, don't do that though. I screwed up. Copy, paste. Okay. So my first week, I worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 5 every day. It gave me a total of 25 hours and 30 minutes. That's nice. It's great. You print it off at the end of the week. You have them sign here, here, around here. I don't care. They have to sign somewhere, physically sign that copy. And you need to submit the signed copy to the Dropbox. Mentor, preceptor, advisor. I don't care who signs it at the clinical site. It's somebody who can say, yes, they were here those hours. Yes, those are the hours they worked. Okay. I don't care who signs it, but it has to be somebody at the site, not me.
Question. So say we forgot to get that. Will we fail that week of submission?
You'll get a 50%. You have to have the signature. You can take a picture of the signed document. You can upload that. You can scan it to an email. I don't really care, but it has to be the signed copy in order for you to get the 100%. Yep. Now what happens, let's say there are times that I've had students, something happens and they weren't able to work their last shift of the week, so they weren't able to get it signed. If you communicate that with me, I will give you until I think Monday at midnight or whenever your next shift is. So let's say you work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I would give you until midnight on Tuesday, submit it for grading. Outside of that, if you don't communicate with me, it's going to be 10% off every day that it's late. Okay. All right. So week 1 is done. What do you want to work in week 2? You just want to work the same? Okay. So let's say week 2, we work the same shift. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 5. I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste. Now, what you see happen differently? The total hours changed. You don't have to do the work, it's doing it for you. So you print that off, right? You get that signed, week 2 is done. So I'm going to just, for S's and G's here, let's see. 76 hours after week 3, 102 after week 4, 127 after 5, 153 after 6. So week 7, I'm guessing, very slowly into week 8 we have to work. But you only have to work 1 day.
Also, we'll be done if we do 25 hours a week by week 8.
Yep.
Question. So when we set our schedule, right, we can change it up or we have to stick with those dates and those times?
If you set the schedule with them, you should stick with them unless something comes up that you have to change it. If you say, I'm going to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. It would be no different than if you were to schedule if you were at an actual job and they scheduled you to work. You have to work the scheduled shifts. It's the same concept, regardless of whether it's externship or not, and you're not getting paid. It's the same concept. If you are scheduled, for example, you're scheduled to be here every Tuesday. You have to come every Tuesday. It's not like, oh, you know what? I don't want to come on Tuesday. I'm going to come on a Wednesday. It doesn't work that way. It's the same concept. Okay. So what I want to say to this now, okay, so week 8, you're done with your hours. But you see how there's still 9, 10, 11, 3 weeks that you have to turn in a timesheet. You could just not turn one in? No, that's not a thing. You will not get points for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn in your electronic timesheet when you're done and just put finished externship on whatever the date was. This date happens to be 5/20/24. And you're gonna do that for week 9, week 10, and week 11. That also get you your points. Now, sometimes I do ask students to turn in both their electronic document that they're keeping on their computer and the signed copy. Because what I want to make sure is that those two things are equaling up. I actually just had a student who had only been turning in her signed copies, but her signed copies didn't match the hours that I've been tracking. They were about 6 hours off. So I said, hey, send me your electronic timesheets. I want to see what's going on. Her electronic timesheet and the timesheet she turned in with the signature did not match. The signature one showed more hours. Couldn't figure out why. She had forgotten to take a day off because her pipes burst. She didn't take that day off. So those 6 hours were supposed to be where she was working, but she hadn't worked that. So that's where me having both of those to compare is really, really good. Okay. What questions do you have about the electronic timesheet? Right now, there's probably none. Week 1, that will be a new conversation. Now, what would happen if you only worked 2 days a week, let's say? We kind of already talked about this, right? Because Amanda and I have been talking about it. So that gives you 17 hours a week. So I'm going to start just to give you an idea. Amanda, this is most likely what you're going to be working, right? Who is that?
That's your alarm.
Alarm.
Yeah, that's how mine is set.
I thought I needed her eye drops.
Oh, Amanda, she needs her eye drops. That's kind of you to think Dad would remember. My husband wouldn't.
He's like, how am I supposed to put eye drops in the 4-year-old eyes? I'm like, just how I should.
You hold them down in a barracuda roll. Okay, so for you, if you worked 2 days a week, right, 8 to 5, you would have to work all the way up until week 11. Just for continuity of thinking this through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question. It goes over by 7 hours. So that means one day we have to work 1 hour?
So you could work an hour, you could work over. It doesn't.
That's on a half-hour break.
Right. So
They
if we
might give you an hour.
right. So this is all
Oh.
based off of a 30-minute lunch. It could be an hour lunch. It could be 15 minutes. 30 is what it really should be, right? It all is all based upon the site. So those could all change. You can work over. Honestly, 7 hours over is not that bad. It's 1 day over essentially. You don't want to work 240 hours. You don't need to do that. You could. If the site's going to let you keep coming, you could go as long as you want, right? I'm only going to grade you up to 180 hours. I don't care after that.
So in the work environment, what if we only work 4 or 6 hours every day? That means that
Okay.
we don't get a lunch, right?
Okay. Yep. So
Okay.
let's look at that. Let's say that you only work 4 hours. 8 a.m. to noon. Let's just call it. It's 4 hours. You don't have to put a lunch in. But if you're only going to work 4 hours, you're going to have to work that
Well, every day, yeah. but-
every day
yeah.
to get you 20 hours.
Yeah.
Or you could do it 4 days and get you 16 hours. But know that that's going to still take you
All the way.
all the way to the end. Yep.
It's a lot of noise for lunches. Like if you work.
30 minutes.
if you work-
If you work an 8-hour shift, it's 30 minutes. Okay. Some clinical sites, their policy at their own site says an hour. I like those sites. I don't know what to do with the other 30 minutes after I eat, but I like those sites because you could, if you're me, I go run to Target and I kill 30 minutes there and it works out perfectly. But it's not very common. Most of them are 30 minutes because they're going to start seeing patients again at 1 p.m. So that's where that would come in. Yep.
Does everybody, how does that work in the medical field? Like, does everybody take lunch at the same time?
So
No.
you stagger them.
Staggered?
Yep.
still? Okay.
So sometimes it's, Sarah's going to go from noon to 12:30. You're going to go from 12:30 to 1 and she'll cover you until you get back kind of thing. Now, one thing I will say, and I cannot stress this enough, that white folder, it becomes your new Bible. You want to keep that with you. You want to keep it in your backpack. You want to keep it in your work bag, whatever it is that you need to keep it and keep it safe and keep all of the contents safe. That's what's going to be important. Because every week when you get a signed timesheet, you're going to stick that timesheet into your folder and keep it. When you are done with your hours, you need to give me all of those signed copies. I need the original hard copy that is signed.
Again, we have to resubmit all of them again, that's what you said?
Yeah, you're going to physically bring them to me.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So when I say I might meet with you twice, it's the one time during your mid-quarter and one time when you're all done so you can turn in that paperwork to me. And by paperwork, I just mean those timesheets. Because everything else is electronic now. What else do you guys have for questions?
Say we do, see, the thing is, that I breastfeed, so I'm kind of like, I can't be awake 8 hours. So if we do.
Well, you could pump.
I don't pump.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you could pump, right? I was away from my daughter for 8 hours and I pumped. Like, yeah, it's not pleasant, but.
Yeah. So say we did 36 hours a week, right? Because that means that we're doing 6-hour days. When will we be completed by?
Well, we have to think about that differently because if you're doing 36 hours a week, that means that you're working 8 to 5, 4 days a week. Is that what you're saying?
Because that's 40.
Right? Is that what we're saying? So 34 if you worked 4 days a week.
But we couldn't do 6-hour shifts Monday through Friday.
They typically won't do that.
So it's either 4 or 8.
It's either a half day or a full day, yes. Now, are there some sites that say you could leave at 3, which would still give you that? Okay, so let's just spitball this here.
I'm trying to convert from working from home to actually being like.
Okay, so if you decided that you only wanted to work 6 hours a week, that's only going to give you 26 hours total, not 36. You would have to work, I think, this last day.
Well, yeah, Friday.
No, not even.
Oh, not even.
It would be 32. But 32 could still work. That was the case. You wanted to only work until 3. Maybe you have to pick up kids. Like that's something I've seen in the past. You would be done week 6. You'd be over in week 6. So there are options, but I can't make your schedule. Yep. What else do we got?
Our times have to be at 8. Or
That's when the clinic's open. Yep. I've seen where some sites will allow somebody to come in later if they have to drop kids off at school. So maybe they start at 8:30 or maybe they start at 9. But most of the time you're going to start at 8 because that's when the clinic opens. That's when your first patient is. What else? Are there any other questions about externship that you can think of right now? They'll come. I know. And it's okay if they do. That's the point of us doing this now, is so I can give you the information. We can kind of set that standard for you. And then if you have questions from now until your start date, which is April 1st, you can ask that. Got to be you sitting under the bed.
I'm freezing. It's a little cool, but like if I put my finger in a warm drink, it'd feel like there was ice in there.
All right. I'm going to stop presenting this just for a minute. And I'm going to turn this off because you don't need to watch me talking to myself. You guys were given a packet that is called, how do I said that? I don't really know the answer to what I'm trying to say. It's the appendix sign-offs. Please make sure, number 1, that you fill these out in blue or black ink only. Do not fill them out in pencil or any other colored ink. All right, I'm going to share my screen for Jenna. Jenna, I'm going to send these to you electronically, but you can choose to fill them out electronically, or you can fill them out when you come back in week 8. So the first one in that packet is Appendix G, which is just simply saying that we did externship attendance meeting handbook sign off. You're going to fill in your name on the top lines. It says that you have read and understand the contents for the Rasmussen University Medical Assisting Handbook, and you acknowledge that the information regarding the program and the externship requirements. Sign and date that, and today is February 13th, 2024. Sign your name, print your name, and then put the date. Second appendix is Appendix H as in Henry. It's the externship HIPAA and confidentiality sign off. Again, your name goes on the top line. It says that you are committed to protecting the confidentiality and security of patient information. During the course of your program, you understand that there may be information shared to enhance your learning environment, and you will take all measures to maintain confidentiality of your classmates, patients, and the medical facilities that are discussed. Again, sign, print, and date. I'm not going to read Appendix I to you completely because we don't have time for that, but this is going over the externship, social networking, and social media policy. What this is pretty much saying is that you need to not disclose any information that you learn about your patients or the clinical site on your social media. If you have an issue that arises at your clinical site with a manager, a preceptor, a coworker, a patient, go to the site and talk to them about it. Or if you don't feel comfortable talking to the site, you bring it to me and we work through it. Do not go to your social medias. Do not post anything on your social medias. It needs to stay private. If, again, I find that you are violating HIPAA because you're turning something in or you're putting something on your social media, you will be fired. Plain and simple. We do not tolerate that being violated. Any questions about what you just signed? Okay. I need these back today. This is the only thing I'm going to need back from you.
Can you not sign the last one?
Their last one? Oh.
The survey.
M is not on my list. So yes, you will go ahead and sign off on M as well. I think if I'm not mistaken, hold on before you guys get too far.
Employer survey.
So leave the top line blank where it says employer name because that is, you're not employed yet. You fill in campus location and sign it. What this is simply asking is that after you graduate, if you obtain a job, you are giving me the ability to email your manager and ask them to fill out a survey about you as an employer as a recent graduate from Rasmussen University. That's all it's asking.
So for location, put Rockford.
Yep, campus location, you put Rockford and then you sign the bottom. And then once you do have a job, I fill in that top part saying that you authorized I could ask them that information. It's going to go in your folders, your turn-in folders. Yellow, manila, I don't really know what color that is anymore. All right. Any other questions that you guys want to ask me before we do our skills?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to stop this recording.